Hello and welcome to Let's Build. Welcome back to Dale, Lonely Mountain, and the future Erebor. In the shadow of Lonely Mountain, we've set out the area, foundations, and walls for our town based on, or rather a tribute to, Dale, the settlement that resides near to Erebor in The Hobbit. So far we've built the walls, plonked down some foundations, and decided how we roughly want to play out where things go in the town of Dale. We got a little bit creative too, set out some cool bridges and walkways, even made room for an underground community by building a massive tunnel that we plan to expand upon. But this episode we focus on the area we roughly designated as the government quarter, and the first thing Dale needs is a town hall, somewhere for the councillors of Dale to gather, discuss, and debate during the day. Now this area has something of an irregular shape, but I saw that as a blessing because when you're forced to build in squares, it becomes too easy to make your buildings more simple. But when you have a difficult foundation to build on, you're forced to kind of get creative to solve the space issues those foundations give you. So how did I want this building to be? And what was my inspiration going to be? What were my plans? Well, first up, the jagged diagonal area could be problematic. It's not a good place for a wall, so instead I'm going to use it as a small kind of garden area. Every councillor needs a quiet place to meet his colleagues or ponder on whether he's going to raise taxes or execute a certain prisoner or, what's what. So I marked off that area and worked out what I had left, and it's kind of like an L shape that's left with a weird square lump at the top left there. So I decided that I'd have an L-shaped building and use that square to be the base of a tall tower that begins as a square tower but then morphs into a cylinder and reaches high above the building. Now, what's my inspiration for this building? Well, when looking at images of Dale, I get the impression of a kind of Spanish, rural sandstone town, with red and orange terracotta rooftops, sandstone walls and features, bolstered here and there by a bit of stone brick. But I wanted to weave in a little bit of quartz. I've never used the block before, and I thought the quartz pillars would work perfectly to hold up a kind of walkway section. So I built up, as you can see there in the background, with sandstone, used sandstone steps to border the jagged area at the bottom, put down stone slabs here in between these quartz pillars, and what I do with the pillars is just reach up, using quartz steps as well to have kind of foundation bases. I then came to the garden as well, you see here, added sandstone steps to make this area look a bit more pretty. This is where the garden's going to be, and that jagged area there, well, as you can see, I filled it with water now, and then I put stone slabs again in the area left in the corner, but left two spots open because I'm going to try and put a couple of trees in there. So then I came around to the pillars, used those quartz stairs to kind of make the pillars look a bit more pillory, and then used them at the top as well. These would support a red nether brick roof. Then did the same at the other section of pillars. And then once that was done, it was time to start adding the red nether brick. Now I wasn't sure if this would be a bit too bright, but to be honest, I think it works really well. The finished building looks great with the red nether brick, so it's something I was definitely pleased with. Plus, I've built so many of these frickin' roofs by now, it's so easy just building them off by heart almost. And there we go, the red nether brick roofs finished, almost. Just one gap at the top. And then I came to the square left by the L shape, between the L shape and the walkways, built up with that, but I didn't go quite to the tip. I came back to the L shape and built up the sandstone at the back. Now I want that square that joins the walkways to be mid-level between the roofs you see there at the bottom and the L-shaped building at the top. So I built up a bit more with the sandstone, and I marked off the areas where I'd have flooring with dark wood, and I built up with the sandstone steps there, finished off the roofs, then used half blocks to peak the roofs with a bit of a spike. Then I came around to the square section. I exchanged the stone brick for sandstone and sandstone steps, and started to build up with sandstone. Now, I didn't know it now, but I'd made one small mistake on the square. It's suddenly become an oblong. I'm not quite sure how, but later that was a mistake I saw and solved with some quick world edit copy and pasting. I think it's about now that I realised, and yes, I grabbed my wooden axe, cut away the wall that you see on the right there, and then moved it one block to the right, but obviously doing that would displace the path, so I had to expand the path out to the right as well first. And here we go. This should be it. There we go. Now I continued on building up that square tower section, reaching high with it, and then stopped there, filling in the roof with sandstone, and this is where it's going to become a cylindrical tower. So I mapped out where the center of this square was, used the Minecraft circles drawing to work out what will be a perfect circle, built that with nether brick, exchanged it for sandstone, and then began to build up slowly. Now, it was about midway up that I realised I wanted these walls to be too thick because I was going to have to dig into this tower to add detail, so I went back down and added an extra layer of sandstone on the inside of the cylinder. And here we are. This is what the building looks like so far. The walkways look pretty swish, and the sides of the buildings don't have any detail yet, but there's plenty of room for me to add steps and etched sandstone to highlight those walls and make them look a bit more interesting. So then I added dark wood at the top as a kind of floor, and then began to repeat the kind of pillar effect that we had at the bottom on the roof. But then I kind of had a few ideas about how I was going to do this. I wanted to use quartz blocks at one point, sandstone blocks I tried, smooth sandstone, but in the end I went back to the old quartz pillars and just mapped out a few of them down there, you see. And once they were all mapped out, I built up to the level I wanted to keep them at, and then again started to build in the red nether brick roofs. Then with the framework for that in place, I used half blocks instead for this top roof to make it a little bit more shallow and make it not seem like a direct copy of the walkways below. I then added a layer of stone slabs, like the bottom stone slabs in the garden section, above the dark wood, and then bordered the edge of the roof with etched sandstone, filling in the gaps with sandstone steps, and then coming over to this small square section that I'd mentioned was going to be a little bit lower than the high roof section, gave that a floor of stone slabs, and then used stone slabs to make a kind of stairway effect. Now it was back to the tower, and to get this bad boy reaching high up to the sky. So again, with a thickness of 2, I went around the edge with sandstone. And again, the roof for this building wasn't going to be red nether brick. No, I wanted this because very much when I see pictures of Dale from the movies, and when I imagine it in my head, the top of this tower is a kind of sandstone dome. So what I did was I tried something new. I mapped out a Minecraft circle using the circles image of sandstone, and then every block up I went, I reduced the diameter of the circle by 1, creating a very mathematical dome effect. Now previously when I've made roofs like this, I've just trusted my heart, but this time I trusted the circles image, and I got a more perfect dome section. And then once that was in place, I replaced the blocks themselves, the sandstone blocks, with quartz steps. But this was temporary, and when I came back to look at it, I decided to swap the quartz out for sandstone steps. Then I began to border the tip of the tower with sandstone steps, added 4 pillars of etched sandstone, removed the pillar in the middle, and then began to add lights and decoration on the inside of the roof to make it look like a more held up building. Oh, and there's a block at the front you see that I've missed when I built the tower, but I'll come back around later and fill that in. And then once the roof was complete, structurally I was almost there. But the roof was a little bit low, so I copy and pasted it a little bit higher. Now it was time to hit the detail of the building, so I came around here and gave the building a kind of mid-skirt of etched sandstone and sandstone steps, very similar to how we designed the walls of Dale and the foundations. And then I used that skirt detail to decide where I was going to put these kind of windows, and then added those around the first floor, came around the back of the building, repeated the pattern, and added again some more windows, experimenting a few times to make sure I had the perfect width and even spacing. Then adding the detail, one level up, on the next floor. And as night falls, it was time to think about how I was going to do the design on the Cylindrical Tower. So I mapped out even spacing using quartz blocks, and then used etched sandstone to remember where things were, and just began to chip away at this tower to add some decoration. Now, when you make a tower like this, if you do make it 2 blocks thick, you can just come around the sides and just bash away at the sides and just do whatever you want to give the tower a kind of theme. So for this tower, I was going for a kind of wavy kind of circle pattern on the sides, with wooden fence posts at the corners. And here you can see it lit up at night with the finished detail and the windows in place, and me adding torches down at the bottom. And then as dawn breaks, it was time to put down some spruce trees, because I thought the white logs would really set off the building quite well. Now I raised them up on some dirt so that I could then replace the dirt with logs to make the trees artificially higher. And there we go, the town hall for Dale. It's complete. There's a few things to fix up. The internals, the interior of the building has nothing at all. There's no furniture, so we'll have to go inside, perhaps on a live stream sometime, and decorate the interior so the councillors have somewhere to sit, so there's a table where people can come around, have meetings, and discuss the important events of the day. The government district isn't quite complete because you have to come around the front, near where it borders the river, add some decoration and some railings there, but for the time being, Dale is looking pretty swish. I'm going to stick with the sandstone and nether brick theme because it's very much terracotta sandstone. So I've been Sjin, and this has been Let's Build Erebor. Hit like and favourite and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week for the next episode of Let's Build. Take care.